if the SEC were to do its own playoff, and I know that's just kind of scuttlebutt right now, and I'm sure that will be a topic that's addressed at their meetings and whatnot, but wouldn't everybody else just consolidate? Or would the Big Ten be like, well, we probably need to do our own playoff then, which would not be nearly as good and would be like, they have a third of the teams of interest that the SEC would have. But I don't know, that just thought crossed my mind seeing these headlines about an SEC-only playoff. It's like, well, there's also the rest of college football, so I'm curious how a conference like the Big Ten, who is, like, let's say the SEC just departed, they took a flight, they're out of college football world. I mean, the Big Ten would be by themselves. I mean, in every way imaginable. So that would clearly not be, the best for them or the best for college football. But yeah, I wonder what the response to that would be.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that is Greg Sankey, the SEC, throwing out
for sure,
like one of those things like, look, if you guys don't get this figured out, we'll do it on our own, and then they can start from the power negotiating position. But if you really look, like the SEC has got the corner on brands, because especially with the expansion, they're going to have more brands than anybody else. If you walked into their food court, there's a lot of places that you're going to recognize and going to go eat. As where, the Big Ten look, they make a lot of money, but as like far as super powerful brands go, they have 2.5, and I'm giving Penn State a half. Everybody else is kind of about the same, and Nebraska used to be a brand, just like in the ACC, Florida State used to be a brand.
And they've got, your Michigan States as well that could be argued. But as far as mega brands, no, it's Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah, it's Michigan and Ohio State. So if they're going to say, like, hey, we're going to do our own thing, hope you guys love Minnesota versus Purdue twice a year.
Right, yeah. I don't. I'm going to tell you right now, I won't like that twice a year. But yeah, that just had me curious. And I know it's exactly what you're saying. I mean, there's going to probably be people that take that and run with that, for the touchdown and really emphasize that they're going to do this and whatnot. And it's clearly just throwing something out there that has some intent behind it. And the SEC is not dumb. They don't just throw things out there for no reason. So clearly it's applying pressure in some ways. But yeah, if you were to do that, and I'm sure it would be wildly successful, but what would stop every other school from saying, well, we're not going to play y'all, okay, well, we got to determine our own champion. So how do we go about doing that? And that's 85% of college football right there. So that would be an interesting side effect of if they were to actually go through with it. But again, I'm like you, I'm not buying anything other than just talk right now.
I think it would water it down, and I think that the numbers, the passion, there's always going to be fan bases who love watching their team or the conference, that camaraderie, whatever. I don't think that would work. I really do think
all of
a sudden you start to have, you just water it down.
I think it would work for the SEC to an extent, but I don't know how sustainable it would be year after year after year after year, especially if the others were separated and like, okay, if you're going to go do your own thing and break away, then we're going to do our own thing over here. And I think, it would hurt both parties ultimately. And there's a lot of people that say, after everything, there was always something like NIL. People throw their hands up. I'm never watching college football again. They still watch college football, just like all the folks. I'm never watching the NFL again, and they still watch the NFL clearly, or at least they were replaced by several other million people so that they didn't see that much of a drop-off. But I do think there are things in place right now where people just, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to ever quit watching. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit to where if you were somebody that was sort of on the fence, I could see where if your team's not going to be, or if your team's going to be even less involved than maybe they already were, I can see where that would, damper the fandom of some people out there.
I've heard most of my life, because Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys in 1989, that there are people who never watched the Cowboys again after what Jerry did to Tom Landry. Mm-hmm. And then he hauled off a win 3 Super Bowls, and I think those people are full of it.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, I'm not going to watch the NFL because it's too political. And I wonder, kickoff to Final Gun, I don't really feel like there's that much politics in it. So if you just watch the games, you can skip all that stuff. But to each their own.
We will have Kirk McNair covers Alabama. He's next. Also, Greg Warbell. He's the voice of Brigham Young Athletics. From Jeff Grimm, the SEC started expanded in 92. Everyone called them stupid, yet followed them. Then they started a conference championship game. Each conference called them and asked why, and then they followed him. So I get what they did, and what they did moved the needle. I don't think you can compare that expansion to them all of a sudden saying that they're going to play for a national title with 24 teams, 16 teams. It just won't. Someone's got to recognize that. Who's going to recognize that? Is the Associated Press going to recognize that?
Well, I mean, I don't think they have to
win
take
all
it
the
all.
national titles right now anyway, but it's got to be a national championship.
Well, I think we got to actually get to a point where it's realistic, because it's not right now. I mean, they can say whatever they want to until I see them putting together plans to do that and actually go through with it. Then I'm not going to sit here and give it too much thought, because I think Greg Sankey's talking, and I think that there probably is some scuttlebutt behind the scenes about that. I'm sure there's been probably talks for years about what an all-SEC type of league would look like. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already targeted who they'd bring into the new league to expand it to have their own type of thing. Like, that wouldn't be surprising to me in any way. So, I mean, who knows what their plans are. I do think there would be some drawback to it, that it wouldn't be just squeaky clean, like they break off and it's just massively successful. I do think it could be massively successful, but there would be drawbacks to it. But again, like, it was mentioned today, and that's all it was. It was mentioned. And, I need to hear a lot more before I actually give it any serious consideration.
When we come back, we'll hear about from Kirk McNair